Welcome to From the Left with Stephen Leon. My name is Stephen Leon, and thank you to the GCD Network for hosting this live stream. Again, this show is From the Left, so I bring what I've been doing the past 13 shows is trying to balance the duopoly of our political system, running as an independent here in Congressional District 8 of Virginia. So it's a bit of a surprise in my last video to the producers at GCD that I was gonna take a bit of a break from these videos, these live streams, to focus on getting signatures. So I started a little late. So there were some circumstances here with that, and then trying to negotiate my budget and what I can do with just my stuff. And but I'm doing well. That brings up something that I wanted to kind of give a shout out to the people that helped me over this weekend. I put an ad on Craigslist, and basically paying a reasonable, it seems to be with what is most reasonable, is paying out $3 a signature. I do an hourly rate kind of thing, and farmers markets around here are very bustling. So they're kind of, people are out in the community. I'm probably going to do some door-to-door stuff, and try that out. And you just getting you on the ballots. There's a guy that worked for me. I'm gonna list their names in a second. I just kind of, give them a free press or whatever for that. And so it's when people sign that petition and say that they believe that anyone should get on the ballot access if they want it, which is really cool because a lot of people do have a certain voter bias. So anyways, I'm going to take a bit of a break after this show. And my plan is to come back probably the deadline to meet these signatures. That's why, is because I've got to spend a lot of extra time and focus my energies on that. And, I also don't want to have like 100 different of these podcasts and finding new things to talk about. And, I like to interact too. Hopefully maybe I'll get some press attention and to really interact, and I'll kind of get into like what I say to people, when they ask to tell me something about yourself when they sign, because I've got you there for maybe, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 seconds or something like that. So, but I wanted to share something. On Friday, I was at work, and just before I was about to clock out, somebody called me, and they said they're my caller already said they were from Rhode Island, and they're like, I'm a concerned voter. I'm a Virginia resident now, and they went on, and I didn't get their name at first, and that was okay. I figured, I put my phone number out there, my personal professional phone number out there, and I can't afford a separate phone number. Or I thought it'd be more personal as an independent to also use my stephen.leon.wdc@gmail email rather than spend the extra $10, $20 or whatever it was to get the @Leon for Congress, .us email, whatever. So anyway, so the guy calls and he heard me out for about 10 minutes. And then the next 10 minutes of the call, he basically tried to persuade me down from running, told me what I'm up against, and that he called me ignorant. And at that point, I was like, okay, what's your name, dude? He's like, I don't have to tell your name. And I hung up on him. You know what I mean? Because like that, wow, that says that I'm making some movement, and to project or just out of fear. Maybe what I after that I processed all this, and I'm thinking, what would somebody's intent be for like that? If maybe you were afraid that I was something of a Robert Kennedy Jr., which is not the case. Robert Kennedy, I'm not voting for the guy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a shadow of his last name. You know what I mean? He gets to, I guess, running for president was on his bucket list. And then getting into his game, just like a coach in any sport, what are they thinking? How am I going to react? And this is analogous, it's all analogies break down. But, what is it about him where he propagated the medicine's disillusionment when it came to COVID? I work in the patent world. I saw those patents within 2 weeks they were filed. They went through process. Viruses and vaccines, there's nothing new about that. Unfortunately, we weren't fully set up, and in some ways we were to respond. Just everyone knows Bill Gates has been a huge example of that. Say what you want again about him personally and professionally in some regards, but there was an Obama playbook that he had for I don't know how it made public, because if you look for it, it says this is not for public release. And I heard about that through the press. I don't know how that was but there was an Obama playbook on how to mitigate these things. And Obama had just ripped that, or I'm sorry, Trump had just went just like everything else, just ripped it all in half. And you can even see Kayla McKinney she's in the press briefing room where she's got like some kind of 8.5 by 11, FedEx office kind of thing, biohazard sticker. Look, we have a playbook. And then in the background, he's declaring a national emergency for this. And then in the front cameras, he's calling it a hoax and he gets COVID himself. God, he's like that with everything. Good God. Anyways, so I'm thinking I'm not like Robert F. Kennedy, you know what I mean? Like I believe in medicine and there are things that we can do. There's a germ protocol kind of thing. Google what germ, GERM, germ team. It's very expensive because we're going to have another pandemic. It could be within 100 years. It could be within 10 by the numbers. That's just what human beings back in, it was around Isaac Newton's day. The doctors were walking around with like crow masks or something like that in cemeteries. So think about that. We have evolved past that. So I'm just thinking about this call, on Friday, and I was like, what would just the fact that they were trying to persuade me down and trying to, and I'm not going to hear it. I know the numbers that I'm against. I know the money that I'm against. I know what I'm doing. I've looked at this and I like that. You know what I mean? I've been a New York Giants fan my whole life, which is kind of, why would somebody from Arlington, Virginia be a Giants fan? My uncle was, he liked that team. He's from Mexico. And happy Cinco de Mayo, if you celebrate that, it's American celebrate. It's really more of a Mexican holiday. But, half my mom's side's from Mexico. I mean, there's a lot of culture mixed in there. Lots of festive parties. Wow. Like just, which is saying something. The fact that I like to unify and try to bring everyone together from every party and what's best of that, maybe that has something to do with my grandmother just being raised in that environment. She's always there cooking, cleaning, and we would go out to this timber lake, this man-made lake, like 6, 7 in the morning. We party like that all the way until 7 p.m. just all day like that. There's something that very positive in the Latino culture. And even think about that, you know what I mean? When you think of the mixtures of this continent and lots of people, it's celebrating the independence of the French, from over there in Mexico. So there's going to be a lot of Latino Mesoamericans that are mixed in with French DNA. So you can look at that. It's the thing about it. The Leons had immigrated in the 1960s. My dad's side, Del Statius, like Greek. They lived in England. 5th generation American on my dad's side, if you want to. I think it's about, and then on my mom's 3rd. So. But that they came with 5 kids. Even my aunts and uncles will say that was a very uncommon thing back in those days. To have 5 kids living here in Arlington. They knew Sandra Bullock and things like that. So it was just uncommon. And then each one of them, my grandmother had a kid, 5 kids Catholic, you know what I mean, and just right after one another. So we're kind of ahead of the game in a lot of ways with as far as that goes, if you want to look at it that way. So, but a lot of people don't fully understand Latino culture, or maybe they do. It just doesn't get a lot of press. You know what I mean? We fully understand Black folk, and we have lots of different things like that. But so anyways, that's about Cinco de Mayo. I'm thinking about that call, and I was gonna post this. I chose to run as an independent to unify, to be the voice, to mute the far opposing ends, where the majority is silent. The peace of mind that has been stolen from all of us, I have bared with everyone as far as I've gone with this full time. And the positive resolve in my platform from the collective interest has kept me going thus far day and night. I rarely do. I think about that is to pursue, just as it is in the Declaration of Independence, that pursuit of happiness, and to know what the things that are my plan that I've adopted and what that means in the collective interest has been really cool. I don't need anyone to confirm that for me. I don't need to have anonymous callers or anything like that telling me that I'm ignorant or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So what did Stephen Leon do? Stephen Leon does what he always does. I redacted his last 4 numbers on his phone number and I posted that on social media. Bam, I don't care. You know what I mean? If you're going to come at me, you better bring something better than that. So last show had 8,000 viewers. That's really cool. Glad to have that. So hopefully I can maintain that same momentum when I come back. And I'd also like to ask for donations to stay relevant. That would be a stage 2 for me. Get on the ballot. And then stage 2 is hiring people. And essentially that's what the donations would go for. It would be to hire people. That's what money is. It's a currency. It circulates. I'm not hoarding this stuff. It's going to pay canvassers $10-15 an hour, something like that, which is still somewhat low. I mean, even $10 an hour. I mean, just to have somebody out there passing out brochures. I'm already on the ballot at that point. That's what I'm thinking. And then, just to get that, to get that positive press. And when people ask me, when I'm tell me about yourself and what I've been spinning this past this week I'll say I've always voted for Don Byers, a nice enough guy, you know what I mean? But what we want to do is balance the duopoly. And he's incapable of doing that. He's very much stuck in party. I've had one woman say, yeah, she works in the Democratic Party, and they don't want to hear, they don't want to, they're just stuck there and they're not really doing anything. So she got that. In whatever words you want to use to describe such abstract things with political science. And I go on to say that he's doubled his net worth to 124 million since being our representative. He's just got tons of stock there, and no matter which way policy would go, he would still capitalize. It piece his PAC money, of course, as they all do. He's going back to school, which is fine, but when he's not telling us how much time he's taking away from other matters, when they're already being lobbied to, and that's again more articles that you can easily Google, credible sources, Politico, where Google, Microsoft, they're already doing that. You can see that all that money goes to staff. You know what I mean? You can't. There's ways you can legally bribe the way the system for the lack of laws, and that's what the American Anti-Corruption Act is about. Is getting, and then boom, I say that I'm like, have you heard of Jennifer Lawrence? And it's like 9 times out of 10, the actress. Yes, she is a board member at a third-party nonpartisan organization called the Represent Us organization, and even Michael Douglas has done a video for them, which is cool because he played in that movie, The American President, and so the thing that they've been working on is that American Anti-Corruption Act, and the Elizabeth Warren had campaigned in her 2020 bid with a presidential bid with an American Anti-Corruption Act, but it wasn't the same. And the one that they were working on is 10 years older. It's been since 2013, and it was developed by a former FEC chairman. It's professed by constitutional scholars. It's got a ranked choice voting element in there. It's got and gerrymandering in there. It's got setting congressional term limits in there and banning PAC money. So with that, instead of we hold politicians accountable, myself included, all I'm coming in there with a fresh start where we can, let me say, like, if Don Beyer were as constitutionally honest as he says, he's supporting this Fair Representation Act, doesn't have anything about PAC money in it. He would just cash out all his stock and set a precedent that way. That's not what he's doing. And if he did, I called him out, and then what is he going to support them? So it's just I can slam dunk on Don Beyer all day. I'm coming after that seat. It's not his seat. It's not Don Beyer's seat. Okay. So represent the American Anti-Corruption Act. We want to get that through. That's just one of the items, one of many items that I've looked outside of party, but also within it, all parties. I had a thing about the Independent Green Party, you know what I mean? Like they just want to give me numbers of how far it is. I want to give a shout out to those volunteers, because the Independent Green Party, I talked to one of their chairmen of Virginia, and he's just telling me, just give me, they may not have resources that I'm not dependent on them. You know what I mean? It's like if he just wouldn't give me a straight answer. Are you going to help me get some signatures? I know we're running out of time, and I could have started a little bit earlier. I was working on other things. Okay, I can make this deadline, right? And proof by these 5 individuals that I found off Craigslist. It's at the top of my head. It's Amanda, Izana, Jan, and Newhaman. We got 150 signatures in basically 6 hours between the 5 of us in the rain. So that was really cool looking at that. And again, that's not even me going door to door yet. And I'm just about halfway there with it's the 3rd Thursday in June. So that's really cool. I'm really happy that they were helping out. And that I put them out there in public. You don't go after the people that I've hired. If you want to, just because I hired them doesn't mean that they subscribe to everything in my platform. That was one thing that, if you find something in there that you can jam with, that you like, and when people come up to you and ask you what it is, you can talk about it, and just relate to them and just kind of find your own. Here are the constants of the plan, and then go find your variables. If it's walking around a little more, however, I try to balance that out, give them that fundamental constant, and then just go ahead and just be you. You know what I mean? And then it seems to be working. You know what I mean? They just, wow. I'm really grateful that they showed up. And I've had some bad experiences with canvassers in the past, so it's really cool. Just phenomenal for the cause. So you can't go after my people. There might be some things that they may or may not, subscribe to. It's not an endorsement, to work for me under that guy's or whatever. So And a lot of the things, it's like I'm finding 1 in 5 people will say yes, and sometimes people will say no, and some people will straight up say that they're a diehard, Don Byers supporter. And you look at those demographics, and I want to call out voter bias. Voter bias. A lot of that is more senior white people. Really, it's what it is. You get it. Like they get into your bias and stuff like that. Joe Biden, like if you look, he's having a difficult time with young voters, not what is this again? What is the psychology behind it? Is it because he's not young himself, or is it because he's just not listening, or is it just his time? But the people that I'm sure there are metrics and data out there, at least something to speculate on that your voter bias. Our cognitive abilities are affected as we get older. Don Byer included. You know what I mean? He's not telling us how much time it's taken him. If it would have right now, middle-aged. So I'll be 43. So if you want to talk about voter bias, the median age in the US is late 30s. So you know what I mean? This is the time where my mind is going to function the best that it ever will. And it will slowly decline over that. So if we're looking for ideas and the energy to push them through with principle, then I'm your guy. Right. So, but that doesn't say that you aren't capable of stuff as you get older. My grandmother, again, she's in overtime. If you want to look at life as a game with boundaries and things like that. You win some, you lose some. Again, that Giants fan, the New England Patriots lost that undefeated season because of a team that I've loved since the 5th grade. I don't even really watch sports anymore. And they've beaten twice, you know what I mean? So it's like, wow, you don't ever need to watch it. And the Washington Capitals with the Stanley Cup. I helped get that training center, the MedStar. It's not MedStar Iceplex. It's another story. So yeah, thank you to those canvassers. That was really cool. Voter bias, we should check that. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if the guy on the right, here at Christian Kim, got all his signatures from the Eden Center, which is a well-known Asian kind of place. You can find a really good coffee there if you can handle it. They just give you like giant things of Vietnamese coffee or whatever it is, and or find something. If you want to call it ethnic, you know what I mean? It wouldn't everything by definition in America be ethnic? What is white culture? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? I'm half white. What is white culture? So I believe that we are a hybrid society. I think we are. That's the cool thing about the new world, where and it's challenging for us. We have those growing pains about us. We are a more perfect people. You know what I mean? If it was believing, or at least less than half of us one time, that Black people were inferior, which is not true by far. Wow. I can just look at the 1939 Olympics with Jesse Owens. That's one element. And that's, even then, you don't want to get caught up that saying all Black people are good at sports, whatever. I mean, geez, genetically, we're 99.9% the same ish, right? So give or take. And that tiny little amount that's left over is vastly unique and different. And even then, if you live in a city or anywhere, there's something so similar from this person. If it's just the facial expressions or something, then it's just a mind trip. So, yeah, I not really sure what else to talk about for the next 10 minutes. Other than donations, donations would be nice. Donations do not have to be from this congressional district. They can be from anywhere, which is neat. I talk about getting money out of politics. I don't appease any. I can listen to a PAC group and their ideas, and I can support their ideas without taking their money. So the PAC groups and the causes that they support was fine. Those momentums could still be going on. But if you look at how they're being donated to the candidate, right, and a lot of that stuff has to be donated back. You know what I mean? You can't hold on to campaign funds if you're not running. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep it. So you have to give that stuff back. And again, in that currency of it all. So, but when you're being directly funded by them, you have to appease every little thing, even if it's not of the majority interest. There's things in the Democratic Party that are like that. There are things in the Republican Party like that. And just spread it out. I recently signed a pledge for America's Promise to get big money out of VA. So not only can we get the money and PAC money out of politics for the most part, other than relying on a certain type of donation, right? We can set certain donating limits, right? So when it comes to things like social media, it just changes the game. You know what I mean? Like, you may not be able to, with that, it would be far too expensive, at least for a congressional seat, to run some kind of video ad. I looked on YouTube and it's relatively cheap to run a YouTube video. But once you get up to like Senate, of course, you're covering a more larger area, and then of course governor, and then of course president. So those are things that we would look at when it comes to what the if it's just flat, we look at it methodically. It's very easy to draw a line. We can do that with lots of things. We do that all the time. Now is the time in America to draw those lines a little more. If you could look at the Stock Act that Obama had signed, where congressional elected officials have to report what they're trading on. And you can see after COVID, they saw what was going on. They saw what industries would tank, so they're bought or sold. So that you can do that independently. It's not very difficult to understand that concept when it comes to the stock. So donations, more and more donations. I have a t-shirt, J6RF. It's a t-shirt. You can hunt for it on my website. As soon as you go to my website, you don't just see blam donation. There was a cool thing that I used, Donor Box, and they said you can put this little tab to have that there. So I put it in the corner away from your reading, it's there, right? So again, that would help me push it. You're not, in a way, yeah. If you like that movie from Tommy Boy about sales, I mean, in a lot of ways, everything's being a sale, what you're doing, if it's just being who you are or whatever it is. But I love that scene. I first saw that as a teenager in the 90s when Tommy Boy starts to become a salesman, and he's got this thing about chicken wings. And it took me a while to figure what that meant. And what that meant is just being himself. When David Spade's character helped him out, where he's he just went on this crazy story. You know what I mean? And that worked for Tommy. It created a buffer, and they kind of saw, I guess, so in a way, people are buying you. Right. So I try to be modest as I can, where I don't want to have a personality contest with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, check my morals, look at what I've done personally in my life. You know what I mean? Before I ever decided to run for the House, and it would be counterintuitive. Let's say if I was a woman and I had an abortion, and now I am trying to push anti-abortion laws, that would be something that you'd want to check. But anything else, you know what I mean? That's just stuff, mistakes we've made in the past or anything like that. You know what I mean? Everything that I employed, anything like that, I believe in full disclosure with that stuff. And that we can rehabilitate, we can move on, we can make our trial and errors, we can be more perfect imperfectly, but at the same time, not rest on being complacent and things like that. So, 6 minutes. Donations. Why donate to my campaign? Because I'm just going to put it back into the community. You know what I mean? I'm just going to pay people to push that. Let's say if I made a brochure, then it would have the key points. I organized my website. I want you to read. I could have made each item collapsible and then pick whatever one. I want you to read this. I kind of bring a Benjamin Franklin-esque kind of thing, that here we have a republic, if you can keep it. That means you need to read. You need to take some time and read what's on my platform, reading where it's coming from, and understand it, and recognize that it was developed. And you'll see this. I don't have to sell you on it. It sells itself under a constitutional democratic republic principle. This country was founded on compromise. It was. So why can't we compromise? If you have a certain ideal, whatever it might be, that you just know, you're just not going to, in certain things, yes, but there are certain things, like when it comes to women's rights, women are going to have their rights. You can't suppress that. You can't use a religious narrative for that. It's not going to work. Women have been having abortions since even before the Bible. It's not even in the Bible. Even if it did, Amendment 1, you can't do it. So why even bother? It's nonsensical that you're even trying to do that. Women are going to have their rights. I've outlined a prenatal volition. It's a medical term that would. It's great that Kamala Harris is out there. You know what I mean, standing up for women's rights. So what is it? What is the codification law going to look like? What is the federal minimum that we're going to have? And I believe I've done that. I've set that in with words and language, and it's got citations in there. You can see the reason behind that. 93% of abortions are done before a heartbeat is even detected, whether there's a law or not. You know what I mean? It's 93%. And so we're talking about the 6% of people, which is a lot. And whatever moral, immoral reason it is, it's still a woman's right. The Supreme Court, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, they had this case where a woman was pregnant and wanted to seek certain rights for her unborn child or unborn fetus. Legally is defined with federally with a social security number, and at the state a birth certificate. Again, legally, you know what I mean? You can say whatever you want, like fetus in Africa, a child is given a name right at conception. That's a beautiful thing. That's Africa. Okay, it's fine. And even if you did that in your home, great. But legally defined, right, is with those pieces of paper. So the Supreme Court declined to decide whether that a child had constitutional rights as a fetus, as an unborn. So that's saying, boom, right there. So that means in essence that life is the same as a woman until you cut that cord, right? So yeah, and a woman has a right to choose. I mean, and Virginia's law is pretty solid when it comes to how it's first trimester is pretty much whatever, second has to be done in a medical facility, and third they weigh it out between where you're at and the mom's mental and physical health. So it would be great if every state could adopt that. But as far as a federal minimum goes, I wrote that just 1 month, or sorry, 3 months, pretty much whatever, and then leave the door open for access to human services have to be appropriated otherwise, so it doesn't violate the Eighth Amendment. These are civil matters. You can't give cruel and unusual punishment. If women have been doing this since who knows how long, it would be cruel and unusual to take it away from them and charge them for murder and stuff like that. So we're not changing that Virginia law. It's just not going to happen. You're never going to get a majority with that. Even women on the right. This is a purple state. Okay. So I didn't want to make this show about women's rights, but that is a part of my thing. So there are other items that's what donating would be. It would be to balance the duopoly. It's very important to me. There are more independent candidates running in this congressional district, which George Washington himself was an independent, hailed from. Very cool. He warned very sternly about the duopolies. There are four independents running in this congressional district, this election cycle, versus the two party candidates before the primary. There were 3 or 4 on the right that either didn't make their signatures or whatever. It's different when you're in the party. They give you less time. So to make that primary, which is in mid-June. So there's that here at Christian Kim. Oh wow, like this, oh my gosh, this guy is just wacky, dude. I go after him every day. I mean, I go after Byron just as equal, but it's just that he thinks like I can challenge him all day. I've talked to the rest of the independents except for Bentley and Jeremy. We've we sat in the same meeting on X about the uncapping the House. All 4 of us would be willing. I'd have to get confirmation from Bentley to debate one another and invite the party candidates and let the whole country watch what has naturally happened here, where the people that want to represent this congressional district did not go into the Democratic Party. That's saying something, but we still lean left. So you can't use our own structures against us, Don Byron. I'm coming after you. I am. You should just retire and make it easy for everybody. Yeah, you should. So I'm going to take a break from these shows, and I'm going to come back and see mid-June at the earliest. I'll talk to the producers and come back, let you know where I stand with making the ballots, and then where I'm at with discussions with the other independents and just things where they're at, with my campaign. And I think that'd be cool. I got to go. I'm out of time. Have a good night, and I will see you later.